Hey, it's Elsie. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be talking about how you can get and maintain straight A's all throughout high school. I just recently graduated high school myself, so I'm going to be reflecting on my experience and telling you what worked best for me. I took a relatively rigorous course load in high school. I did 12 APs, everything else was honors, took 2 dual enrollments, while also balancing those against my commitments in other clubs and sports, and got straight A's the whole time. So I'm going to be sharing with you my tips on how to stay balanced and focused in high school. My number one tip is to prioritize sleep. And by prioritize sleep, I do mean prioritizing it above other things in your life. I know a lot of schools have this culture where you kind of glorify not getting a lot of sleep. It's a way to prove that you are the most hardworking student there is. But this mindset is really unhealthy in the long run, because our brains are literally still developing in high school and in college, so we need a lot of sleep to be mentally and physically healthy. But even if all you care about is getting good grades, you should still care about getting more sleep, because if you get a full night's rest, that means you will be more attentive in class, which makes it easier for you to absorb the material that's being taught to you. And it also means that you save more time later on studying, because it gives your brain more time at night to process all the information that it learned throughout the day, which improves your memory so you don't have to spend as much time cramming for a test. Getting 7 or 8 hours of sleep might sound impossible right now to some of you watching this video. So let me tell you how I managed to get more sleep. One thing is that I set a strict sleep schedule for myself. I went to bed at 10:30 p.m. every single night and woke up at 6:30 a.m. every single morning. While these specific hours might not be feasible for everyone, after all, we all have different levels of obligations and obstacles in our lives. However, I do think it's possible for every single person watching this video to prioritize getting more sleep if you aren't already getting a consistent 7 to 8 hours. One thing I recommend is not looking at your phone before you go to bed, because if you're scrolling on Twitter for only 5 minutes, that can easily turn into 25 or 35 minutes, and before you know it, you're going to bed at a way later time than you had initially planned. So if you do want to look at your phone, I recommend not looking at it before at least 30 minutes before you go to bed. That way, the very last thing you're doing in your day is something kind of boring, like doing homework or studying. Then, obviously, if the choice is between continuing studying or going to bed, you're probably going to want to go to bed earlier rather than later. But my main tip really is that you should be using careful time management, which is it's my second main tip, using your time strategically. You should try to look in advance to see what will the rest of your week or even the rest of your day look like, so that you can make your plans accordingly. On the weekends, I always try to get ahead of the week and do readings in advance or look at worksheets in advance and just make sure that I was prepared for all the things that I had to do. That way I saved time on the weekdays when it was a lot more difficult to pack in everything in such a short amount of time. Also, on some days when I knew I would have to do a lot of studying or a lot of homework, I would find ways to either skip clubs or just attend them for like half an hour rather than the full time period. That way I would still be able to get to sleep by 10:30 at night. So to do this, I would just give whoever's running the club a heads up and tell them that I would check in the next day, catch up, and fulfill all the things that I missed at yesterday's meeting. Or if I was running the club myself, I would often really do whatever it takes to avoid skipping these meetings. But if I had to, maybe once a semester, I would tell my VP in advance that I couldn't make it to the meeting. I'd give them the agenda, like a 24 hours heads up, and obviously they could ask me any questions. That way I would have someone else that's running the meeting if I was really in a tight situation. I think that setting up a system in advance before you even start your school year is really helpful, both for you and for everyone else running the club, because then it sets in a clear way for you and for all your other officers to make sure that their life is balanced, because we all have so much going on outside of this one club. So of course we're capable of stepping up for each other and providing each other that bit of flexibility rather than requiring every officer to attend every single meeting all the time. I would also find ways to effectively multitask, especially in regards to studying. For example, if I had a math test and a history test both tomorrow, I would set aside maybe an hour at night sitting at my desk to study for math, because math is one of those subjects where I really can't study for it unless I'm at my desk looking through my old notes and redoing problems from worksheets. However, for history or similar subjects like psychology, other social sciencey subjects where it's really more about understanding an overarching narrative, and then once you understand that, all you need to do is remember specific facts and dates and definitions, then I would not ever spend time at night at my desk studying. Instead, I would finish studying for whatever test it is that I need to sit down and study for, and then in the morning, I would wake up, and as soon as I got up, I would go on my phone, go onto YouTube, and look up videos. So you could type in Fall of the Roman Empire or Silk Road Trade or whatever it is that you need to study for, put on a video, and as you're going about your morning routine, as you're brushing and getting your clothes changed and eating breakfast, doing all that you would always have to do anyway, you're also studying at the same time, which is a great way to multitask and save yourself time at night. So I also found ways to really maximize the use of my time in other areas. I would always try to type up my notes on my Chromebook, and then that way if I'm in the car, in a train, in a bus or something, I could just pull up my notes on my phone and do studying then. Or if there's a small lull in class or the teacher finished early, I would also try to get work in then, really just maximizing the use of my time. Another part of using your time wisely is knowing when it's okay to cut corners. If you have a 99 in one class and an 89 in another, obviously you should prioritize studying for the class that you have a lower grade on, even if it means you don't get around to studying for the other class. I also honestly think it's okay to BS some assignments as long as you don't make a habit of it, because we're not studying machines. I think you do need to prioritize living a balanced and healthy life, even if it means occasionally cutting corners on your schoolwork. However, I do want to provide a countervailing point, which is my third piece of advice. And that is to put in your full effort whenever possible, because a strong foundation in a subject will make everything that comes after it just so much easier. So always try to do the full reading, always try to make very careful edits of your essays, always spend a lot of time studying for tests, really go the extra mile in whatever capacity you can in your schoolwork whenever it's possible. Even if you know that you're guaranteed to get an A in the class, still try to do the extra credit and still try to make the best project possible. This also means speaking up in class, participating in a very engaged way, and also going after school and talking to your teachers, either about questions that you had from class or from homework, or just because you were really interested in a subject and want to learn more. One, because this is a great way to clear up your confusions and make sure you have a really strong base of understanding. And two, because it's also a great way to form a relationship with your teacher. That way, down the line, if you ever need to request an extension on an assignment or you need extra credit, they'll be more receptive. And also, they'll be more lenient of your mistakes if they know that you are genuinely putting in your full effort and trying to make the most out of this class. So my fourth tip is that you should find one method of keeping track of all of your assignments and sticking with it for all 4 years. Just missing a single homework assignment can really mess up your grade, even if it's the result of sheer forgetfulness, which is a situation that I always dreaded and tried to avoid in high school. As soon as a teacher would bring up a subject, or not a subject, but a test or an exam or a project or any sort of homework assignment, as soon as I mentioned it, no matter what we were doing in class at that moment, I would stop what I was doing, pull out my Chromebook, and then on my digital to-do list, I would write down the assignment and its due date. That way I never forgot any assignments that I had, and before I started my work and before I finished my work, I would always check that list to make sure that I was not forgetting anything. Now, my fifth piece of advice is to use cute or fun or trendy school supplies. So first, my disclaimer, you do not need any sort of fancy school supplies. You do not need to spend money in order to get straight A's. In my freshman, sophomore, and junior years of high school, the only materials that I used to study were my school-issued Chromebook, my binders that I had saved from middle school, loose leaf paper, and pens, pencils, all the sort of things that I literally picked up off the ground at my school. So it was super low budget, and I still got straight A's, so I'm not saying that you need to spend money in order to get good grades. However, I do think that there could be a role in your studying method if you do want to buy trendy or fun school supplies. So over 2 Christmases ago, I think, someone bought me these gel pens, and I began to use them when I was taking notes. And I realized that ever since I started using the pens, I actually stopped procrastinating on these notes because I really enjoy using the pens, I look forward to it, and I can only ever use them if I was taking my notes. So that actually provided me the incentive I needed to stop procrastinating on note-taking. Maybe that'll work for you, maybe it won't, but it's worth a shot if it does sound like something that might work for you. I think you can be purposeful about the school supplies that you're buying. For example, if you really struggle with identifying key points or themes in a textbook, then maybe you should buy cute highlighters that you enjoy using that will motivate you to go back through your notes and just pick out the main ideas. Or if you struggle as you're reading a book to leave comments or questions or connections in the text, maybe you buy cute sticky notes that you want to use, and then as you're reading the book, you'll have a motivation to actually put down your thoughts into the text itself because you have these fun sticky notes that you want to use. So now my final piece of advice is that you should have a clear motivation for why you want straight A's. 4 years is a long time, and if you don't have a clear motivation for all of this hard work that you're putting in, you might end up feeling burnt out after just a couple of years. Your motivation could be that you need to get into a specific college and you need straight A's for that, but even then you should have a reason why you want to get into that college. Say you have a personal reason why you really want to become a doctor, so obviously you need med school, so then you need to maintain a good GPA from a good college, so maybe that's your motivation. Or maybe you have younger siblings and you really want to provide a positive role model for them, and that's your motivation. Whatever it is, make sure that that is a clearly solidified idea in your head so that whenever you're struggling or whenever you're feeling like you don't really know why you're doing this and why you're making all these sacrifices, you can remind yourself and find the renewed motivation to keep going. Also, if you don't have a clear motivation for getting straight A's, that's perfectly fine too. Not everyone needs a 4.0 GPA in order to be successful later on in life. Maybe you want to spend more of your free time hanging out with your friends, or maybe you want to spend that time developing a hobby or starting a business. All of those things are equally valid uses of your time as schoolwork is. You don't need to feel this pressure to get straight A's just because everyone else is trying to do the same. So whatever it is that you decide will be your goal for these next few years, I wish you all the best of luck with it. Let me know what it is that you found in this video being most helpful, and let me know what else you want to see in the comments for future videos. And until then, thanks for watching and see you!